They weaponize reality. It's actually what makes the lie so powerful. People who act on the behalf of the narcissist. Now, did you spot the fake one here? Did you know that people, they actually lie up to 200 times per day? As studies have shown from DePaulo and Feldman, that's actually an average, through casual conversation obviously, but that's an average of 3 to 5 times. The number, of course, it varies depending on the social situation, and surely for politicians and for people in sales, it's typically way more. But what if your entire reality is a lie? Well, today we take a look at the narcissistic lie. So let's get into it. So what if I told you that you've been lied to your entire life? And not just by people you mistrust, by people closest to you, your friends, your family, even yourself. Narcissists, they control the world. They sit in governments, they sit in boardrooms, and they're even part of your social circle right now. But here's a terrifying truth. You probably don't know you're dealing with one. So today we're gonna uncover the chilling truth about narcissism. Why they lie, how they manipulate, and the biggest truth of them all, the lie you tell yourself. Okay, so let's talk about lies. Most people, they think of a lie as a simple falsehood, like something that isn't true. But in reality, a lie can be so much more. Like, for example, right now I'm drinking tea, whilst in reality I'm actually drinking coffee. Delicious. What if I told you that most lies actually contain a certain level of truth? They actually have to be believable. Whilst this is coffee, and in no way can be referred to as tea, this is actually a horrible lie I just made up. This is the same as the narcissistic lie does. It conceals as a cup. It has a warm drink in it. It could, by any measure, actually be tea, for all you know. But in reality, it actually is coffee. But the truth that this is a cup with a warm drink in it, the truth that this actually could be tea instead of just coffee, the truth is actually what makes the lie so powerful. Okay, I digress. Narcissists, they don't just tell lies. They construct entire realities with a bit of truth in it and a little bit of their own confabulated reality. They manipulate facts, they twist perceptions, and they force their victims into believing their version of reality. They weaponize reality. By constantly rewriting history and shifting blame, they make you lose grasp of your own point of view, of your own perceptions, of your own reality. And the moment that you start questioning yourself, the moment that you start doubting yourself, that's the moment that they have won. Psychologists, they have studied this for decades. The act of lying is a cognitive milestone for children. They start doing it around the age of 3, when they start the individuation process, when they start to have a perception that they themselves have their own thoughts, their own experiences, their own capacities to actually control the world external from themselves. But at the same time, they also start gaining the understanding that other people, they hold the same capabilities. This is an understanding that other people, they hold thoughts and perceptions that are separated from their own. But this is actually where it gets interesting, because narcissists, they have taken this skill and they have turned it into a form of art, their own personal avant-garde of strategic manipulation of the environment around them. Their lies, they are strategic. It is conscious. It is completely controlled. They lie to avoid consequences. They lie to control others, to escape whatever shame they might encounter that might be induced into them. And the most horrific part of all of it is that the longer they lie, the more difficult it is for them to actually have a grasp of where the truth begins and where the lies actually end. So that's actually also the process to where they start confabulating everything. And reality actually is, they truly, truly believe their own fiction. To a narcissist, it's actually their own version. That's the only version that matters. It's the only version of reality that is important. And it's not because they want to lie, it's rather because of something I actually want to address in a later video that we can call the internal versus the external world, reality. And just to give you a quick insight into it, we all have these internal images of how the world out there is, but likewise we also constantly have to encounter that our thoughts, perceptions, belief systems, they have to be readjusted here and there because sometimes reality just doesn't match what we thought it was. But that's something I want to go into in a later video at some point, I don't know when. Narcissists, they simply cannot account for how reality is externally from them, but they only hold an anchor within themselves, within the ideas that they have created about how the world is, and then they're trying to impose their perceptions, their worldview onto the external reality. And let's not forget the ultimate tool for narcissistic deception: gaslighting. Very briefly explained, gaslighting is basically the narcissist taking your ideas, your worldview, your perceptions, your reality, your understanding of truth, and turn it into something where you're wrong, something where you cannot really believe your own ideas anymore. But to a narcissist, if you can make someone question their own belief, their own reality, and their own sanity, you completely control them. Now let's try a little experiment, just for the sake of argument here. So most people, they actually just believe whatever is told to them without questioning, just on the matter of the fact that it has been told to them. They don't even bother to go search it out or look up or go Google or go to whatever scientific data bank. So I'm gonna tell you some facts, and let's say that your task is to see which one of the facts I'm telling you is the falsehood. Now the trick here is that whatever you tell people, whatever you say to people, it has to contain a certain amount of truth in it. It doesn't work if it's too far off from what is actually rational and reasonable. So it has to be some level of truth to it, and then you can basically get away with anything in regards to telling people whatever you want to. According to climate scientists, the poles will have shrunk around 50% before 2035. According to climate scientists, the oceans will rise about 2 meters, it's around 6 feet, before 2030. According to climate scientists, natural forestation will have decreased with 40% before 2035. So now you tell me which of these factual statements isn't true. Did you spot the fake one here? So if you did, congratulations, but I would argue that you probably would have, because they're pretty much all made up. I just made them on the go. The point here is that they were somewhat believable, and therefore some of them could be true and some of them could be false, even though a lot of it were far-fetched, I would argue. But you see how it works. The matter of the fact is there was some truth to it, and therefore it was actually quite reasonable to believe that, okay, it's true. But you might ask yourself, okay, so what if the narcissists keep telling lies? Wouldn't they get caught out? Wouldn't they at some point stumble over their own feet? And yeah, sure, they would. At some point, you cannot continue telling lies continuously and keep deceiving people. But again, that's where the confabulation aspect comes in. They make it up as they go. And as long as they keep their lies within a framework that contains some certain amount of truth, they get away with almost anything. As narcissists, they mainly take account of their own inner world. Remember the internal versus the external we just discussed before? They only account for the internal world. And whenever they are confronted with whatever, they have a specific tactic that they utilize. So they most of the times just get away with it anyway. As we have mapped out already, the first tactic is that they start confabulating, making it up as they go. But if they are counter-argued or confronted it and the confabulation doesn't work because they're called out already, if you have ever dealt with a narcissist before, if you have ever encountered a narcissist before, you will have known the second tactic they almost always turn to. They simply forget. They simply don't know. They have no account of what happened. They don't remember. They don't. They make it up as they start gaslighting you and start telling that, okay, then it's you who's crazy. They turn it around, so they're gaslighting you again and make you seem crazy and making that reality they simply just don't remember. Of course, sometimes forgetfulness is a real thing. We all forget stuff. We all forget. It's typically it's normal, but for a narcissist, it's weaponized. It's something that you can very clearly see that whenever it's not suiting them, that's when they are, suitable enough. I forget stuff. I don't remember anything. And to avoid getting called out, narcissists, they apply a typical, very insidious tactic to make sure that they most likely will not be called out. Now, flying monkeys, they are effectively people who act on the behalf of the narcissist. They spread lies, they deceive, they manipulate, and they attack others. The term flying monkeys actually comes, or it first appeared in the 1900s children's novel, The Amazing Wizard of Oz, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, or something like that. By the author Frank Baum. Now I think we should watch a clip actually from The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, where the flying monkeys, they're controlled by the Wicked Witch of the West.
Trouble, I promise you that. I've sent a little insect on ahead to take the fight out of them. Take special care of those ruby zippers. I want those most of all. Now fly! Fly!
Flying monkeys, they can be friends, they can be family, they can be your closest relatives or your loved ones. It could be co-workers or effectively anyone you could think of. It is people who are willingly or unwillingly doing the bidding of the narcissist in accordance with the version of reality. It's the narcissist version of reality, of course. And then you might ask, why would they do this? Why would anyone do this willingly or unwillingly, of course? Well, it's effectively because nobody wants to be the scapegoat. They would rather stay on the narcissist's good graces, on the narcissist's good side, than becoming the next target. And this, my friends, this is actually why and how the lie becomes real. This is how the narcissist is weaponizing people around you to make you look like the bully, make you look like the odd one. The more people who enforce the lie, the harder it actually is to counter it. Before long, the victim is effectively outnumbered and the narcissist narrative becomes the dominant version of the truth. Now, here is where it gets truly terrifying. When a lie is repeated enough, it actually becomes truth. And narcissists, they understand this instinctively. We live in a world where truth is no longer fixed. It's actually very often referred to as a post-truth era, where perceptions is reality. And in this environment, the narcissists, they hold all the power. So the question is no longer what is truth, but rather who controls the narrative. Narcissistic lies are not just to deceive or lie. It is actually to construct their own reality. And within a world where lies and narratives are more powerful than truth, what happens next? If you have watched this far, please drop a comment down below and like and subscribe to this channel. It is much appreciated, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care.